Hey everyone, welcome to my home studio. Today I'm super excited to show you how you can create a vibrant koi fish using Derwent Inktense watercolor pencils. So let's get started. A koi fish can seem complex, but by breaking down each of the components we can make it super simple. To start, we'll sketch each of the shapes with a light colored pencil. I'm using cyan. Since we're using the Inktense, it will easily melt away once we add water. When drawing the silhouette, start with a loose outline and focus on the basic shapes rather than getting too bogged down in the details. I'm starting with a teardrop shape for the body and then developing the fins and the tail. Koi fish have beautiful flowing curves. By adding gentle arcs and lines, you can convey a sense of movement and grace to your illustration. A common mistake is to make the head too large or the body too small. I find that I can better understand the overall form by using a few different reference photos. Now let's add a few other colors to map out the value and the tone. By adding a deep rose, I can refine the sketch and allude to areas of shadow. This stage is all about experimenting and having fun. Don't worry about perfection, embrace the process and let your creativity flow. Let's practice creating scales by using scalloped lines that follow the shape of the fish. Instead of placing the scales in a straight line, we should angle them to match the contours of the fish, which adds a sense of depth. Next, let's create a gradation of color to give the koi fish a rainbow effect. By leaving the tips of the scales lighter, we can make the scales look like they are shimmering in the light. You can blend colors for a unique and mesmerizing effect. This ensures that you have bold contrast that is full of bright colors. Now let's move on to the fish's tail. While the fins can seem like the most complicated part to create, with just a few flowing lines we can create the illusion of a tail moving in water. I create a few lines to guide the direction of the fins and then begin to build up tone. As we did with the scales, we can create an ombre effect by moving from one color to the next. For the smoothest transition, follow the rainbow and move from warm to cool. I'm shading from end to end, gradually transitioning from one color to the next as I move down the tail fin. Darker details help to add a pop of contrast. Now it's time for my favorite part. You can use the magical properties of the Inktense pencils to bring all of your ideas to life. When dry, they behave like regular colored pencils. But once you add water, the colors come alive with bold vibrancy. You don't need much water, a little goes a long way. Because the Inktense pencils are incredibly pigmented, we can achieve rich, intense colors. This step is simple, but makes an enormous impact. Now let's combine all of these elements together to make your own fully realized koi fish. I'm using each of the lessons from our preliminary studies to guide this final illustration. By creating bold outlines, rainbow scales, and flowing fins, we can create a piece that is bursting with color and energy. Be sure to start with light layers, gradually adding more and more colors and tones. Choose colors that correspond with one another, such as reds next to oranges, greens next to blues, so that the tones will naturally shift from one to the next once water is added. By taking your time, you can enjoy the creative journey and add lots of detail, resulting in a more polished and visually striking illustration. I'm making the most of all 100 Inktense pencils to create a rainbow color scheme, but you can make your fish any color you like. The only limit is your imagination. The real magic happens when you activate the Inktense colors with a wet brush. Watch how they blend seamlessly, giving our fish a watercolor-like appearance and making each of the colors pop with vibrancy. If you allow your paper to dry, you can continue adding more and more layers with pencil. Then, add more water as needed. You can repeat these steps multiple times until you believe your piece is complete. And there you have it, a graceful yet dynamic koi fish. Thank you so much for joining me in this demo. With Inktense pencils, you can truly create anything you can imagine. Remember, art is all about having fun and expressing yourself. Until next time, happy creating!